doctors assuring the family and that he is currently stable. Blood pressure has been brought under control. We should expect another update tomorrow, that there's nothing really at this stage to be really worried or concerned about. Now, President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa is said to deliver his State of the Nation address on the 10th of February. That's in about 2 weeks' time from now. Job creation is expected to feature prominently as he lays out the grand schemes and goals for the country this year. South Africans are still grappling with a deteriorated economy exacerbated by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Many believe the localization of some sectors, including manufacturing, could be key. Let's get the view now of the acting CEO of Proudly South African, Happy Ngidi, joining us now virtually. Ms. Ngidi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Yourselves as Proudly SA want the President to make job creation the core, the nub of his State of the Nation address. Why?
Because we believe, Braden, that by virtue of the fact that unemployment is what leads poverty and inequality, leading in turn to events such as what we saw last year that unfolded right before our eyes when, we saw the country turning into turmoil when tensions ran over between the haves and the have-nots. So therefore, it is, with that background where we are asking and pleading with the President that as he prepares his upcoming speech, we would like to encourage him to advocate again for localization as a national economic imperative for reigniting the economy growth of the country.
Localization, just unpack that again, just remind us what we want. More local investments, for example, in the manufacturing sector, so that we can create jobs locally.
So we say that, if you, with increased levels of local demand leading to new market opportunities, we expect to see new market entrants disrupt the status quo, boosting competitiveness and innovation in industries that are traditionally dominated by a few large players. That's what localization is about. We are asking that we prioritize on manufacturing as a country, prioritize on local manufacturing for the betterment of our economy. And to even start to begin to deal with that myth where locally made and locally manufactured products are either seen by South Africans or perceived rather to be either inferior or of not good quality, which is not the case in many instances. And in light of the anticipated SONA speech by the President in the next few days, we are asking him to remind us, particularly the public sector, that they need to lead by example and ensure that they adhere to local procurement legislation. I mean, there's legislation where plus minus 24 items are designated for local procurement. And government, we know that government is the largest single spender, and we are asking him to use that platform at SONA to remind public sector employees what they're obligated to do in light of those designated items, but also, to then speak to the private sector, and with the private sector, you can't enforce, local procurement, but with the voice of Proudly South African and his voice at the platform, at the SONA platform, he can encourage and remind the private sector to also walk the talk and do the right thing, but also consumers, because ultimately all of us, when all is said and done, whether in the public sector, private sector, we are all consumers, and that speech we are hoping that will put a highlight into the reality that all of us as South Africans can consume locally manufactured products on a daily, for that matter.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you've got local manufacturing, which is a good point you are making, but you've also got local procurement of goods, services, and all kinds of solutions. And then you've got the issue of us as consumers. Sorry, my technical director is in my ear currently. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. You've got also the issue of consumers, what we buy. Sometimes we believe that locally made stuff is inferior to stuff that is made elsewhere in the world, which is a myth, of course, judging by the number of locally produced goods that are of damn good quality. So is it only manufacturing, just before we conclude, Happy, is it only manufacturing that you at Proudly South Africa are honing in, that you expect the president to use it? And secondly, don't you think, I agree with you, he can't force the private sector, but he can ask government to incentivize the private sector in order to procure locally. What do you think?
So to tackle the first part of your question is that, the highlight is on we're zooming into manufacturing specifically because it is labor intensive. That's where many jobs are created or could be created and also sustained, but there's many other industries as well that are just as labor intensive and whose value chain and contribute immensely to the economy of the country, even prior to even begin to deal with the tragedy that the pandemic has caused. I mean, even prior to that, we know that the economy was in trouble. And latching on to the second part of the question is that could be a possibility, to look at some sort of an incentive kind of approach in an effort to find ways, around, what we face as a country. It's going to take a collective, Raden. It doesn't, begin to be just a problem that just the government needs to deal with. Yes, they've got to be held accountable. They've got to walk the talk. They've got to do the right thing in regards to the procurement legislation is the one thing, but it takes a movement, a collective movement, between the private sector, the public sector, and consumers to really realize the change and the positive impact that we would all like to see in as far as the economy is concerned.
Yeah, manufacture locally and buy SA kind of initiative as a national movement would be great. Thank you very much, Happy Ngidi, the Acting Chief Executive of Proudly South African, just giving us some of their views about what President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa should prioritize when he delivers his State of the Nation address in about 2 weeks.